Hollywood has a talent for accomplishing seemingly impossible feats, such as covertly replacing adored celebrities without the public noticing. Whether it's because of personal choices, contract conflicts, or behind-the-scenes drama, some celebrities disappear from our screens and are skillfully replaced. Have you ever noticed a sudden change in the appearance of your favorite character? These actor substitutes, from classic TV series to big-budget motion pictures, may shock you. Come along as we unveil the actors swapped out without a second thought. Tini Henriksen, Big Love. Jolene Weshby portrayed Tansy, Tini Henriksen, in the first 3 seasons of Big Love. Bella Thorne took her spot before the 4th season premiered. When I met with producers on the role, they told me to just make the character my own and not to try and match the other actress, Thorne said in an interview discussing the change. Reggie Mantle, Riverdale. Ross Butler played Reggie Mantle in the first season of Riverdale, the CW's bizarre retelling of the legend of Archie comics. But after the season, Butler decided to step away from the show to concentrate on the 2nd season of 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, where he also had a major role. In turn, Charles Melton was given the part of Reggie, and he still plays the character. Ryan Vogelson, Last Man Standing. In a special guest appearance, artist Nick Jonas played Ryan Vogelson in the first season of Tim Allen's sitcom Last Man Standing. The following year, the role was revived in the series and portrayed by Jordan Masterson, who was more accessible and less costly. The character eventually settled in as a regular. The Night King, Game of Thrones. Because the Night King's design includes prosthetics, makeup, and computer-generated effects, it's possible that the creators of Game of Thrones believed viewers wouldn't realize that the actor playing the character had changed from Richard Brake to Vladimir Furtick during the 6th season of the show. After all, that wouldn't be the only odd assumption they made in the show's later seasons. Morty Seinfeld, Seinfeld. For many Seinfeld devotees, considering anyone other than Barney Martin to play Jerry's notoriously bombastic father, Morty, throughout the show's run is certainly heresy. Actor Phil Bruns, however, interpreted the character extremely differently. Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld claim they remade the role because they thought it needed to be cracker. Meg Griffin, Family Guy. It's nearly impossible to envision anyone other than Mila Kunis portraying Family Guy's perpetually obnoxious daughter, Meg, after 20 years and hundreds of episodes. But Lacey Chabert, then a star of Party of Five and later recognized for Mean Girls, voiced the role in the show's first few episodes. After the first season, Chabert left the show, citing her schedule, and the rest is history. Caitlin Cooper, The O.C. Future megastar Shailene Woodley played Marissa's, Misha Barton, young, pony-obsessed little sister, Caitlin, in a recurring role of the first season of The O.C. The character didn't return until Season 3 when Willa Holland played an older, wilder version of the role after she was sent off to boarding school in the middle of the season. The version of Caitlin Cooper that we were going to bring back to the show was a little bit older than Shailene would have been able to achieve on her own, says show creator Josh Schwartz. Toby Cavanaugh, Pretty Little Liars. Over Pretty Little Liars' increasingly confusing run, there were many cast additions, deletions, returns, and modifications. The case of Toby Cavanaugh is among the most prominent. James Neat portrayed the character Toby Marshall in the pilot episode. Keegan Allen, one of the show's stars of the remainder of its run, took Neat's position when it went to series. Neat played the lead role in The Man in the High Castle on Amazon. Mandy Milkovich, Shameless. Jane Levy played Mandy Milkovich in the first 6 episodes of Shameless. After she left the show to join the cast of Suburgatory, Emma Greenwell took Levy's position. Both actresses succeeded with the change, as Suburgatory ran for 3 seasons, while Greenwell returned to Shameless for a full season. Jackie Gary, The Goldbergs. Rowan Blanchard, who made Riley Matthews famous on Girl Meets World, played Jackie Geary, Adam's love interest, in the 4th and 5th season of ABC's The Goldbergs. To much fan ire, Blanchard was replaced with Alexis G. Zoll starting in the 6th season. The following season saw the character wholly wiped out. Mateo, Jane the Virgin. Since Mateo is the, at first undefined, kid of the show's main character, played by Gina Rodriguez, he's a significant figure in the CW's Jane the Virgin. Young actor Joseph Sanders portrayed Mateo in the show's early seasons. Starting with the 4th season, Elias Jansen took Sanders' spot as he wanted to return to school full-time. Carol Willick, Friends. In the first episode of Friends, Ross Geller, played by David Schwimmer, narrates how his wife Carol left him for another woman, resulting in their divorce. Anita Barone's portrayal of Carol in the upcoming episode marks a significant turning point in the show's history when she informs Ross that she's expecting his child. After this episode, though, Jane Sibbett played Carol Willick in all subsequent appearances of the character in the show. Jesus, The Fosters. On The Fosters, Jake A. Austin originally played Jesus, but Austin left the series citing a lack of work. The role was subsequently portrayed by Noah Centineo, now well known as the male lead of the To All the Boys I've Loved Before franchise. The actor explained, saying, "I was only asked to return for 3 episodes and wasn't going to be able to work on anything else, so I left." Jason De Laurentiis, Pretty Little Liars. We're back with Pretty Little Liars, and this time we're focusing on the casting shift involving De Laurentiis. Parker Bagley portrayed the role early in the program's run, but after the first season, Jason was played by Drew Van Acker for the remainder of the run, with no explanation given for the switch. Vivian Banks, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. For the first 3 seasons of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Janet Hubert portrayed Vivian Banks, also known as Aunt Viv. However, Daphne Maxwell Reid abruptly took over as Vivian's replacement at the beginning of Season 4. Fans questioned what occurred for decades, and many rumors circulated. It eventually came to light that Hubert and actor Will Smith had a tense relationship, which is why she left. During a reunion party organized by Peacock, the two famously reconciled. Becky Connor, Roseanne. Thus, this may be among the most perplexing casting changes in TV history. Lacey Goranson played Becky Connor on Roseanne for the first 5 seasons before quitting the show to go to college. Sarah Chalk played Becky from Season 6 to Season 8. In the 8th season, Goranson took on the role again. However, Chalk filled in for her whenever her academic schedule prevented her from filming. After the season, Goranson resigned from the role again, and Chalk took over for the character in Season 9. Later, when the show was revived, Chalk was added as a new character, and Goranson reprised her role as Becky. You get all of that? Sarah Lance / Black Canary, Arrow. Jacqueline McInnes Wood played Sarah Lance in the Arrow pilot episode, who would go on to play one of the show's Black Canary incarnations. Katie Lotz quickly took her place, which was probably good because Lotz's character became so well-liked that Legends of Tomorrow was created specifically for her. Darren Stevens, Bewitched. The Bewitched cast had one of the most well-known early TV recastings when Dick Sargent took Dick York's position. Critics widely praised York for his portrayal of Darren during the show's first 5 seasons, but he had to leave the role due to persistent back trouble. For his part, Sargent never found audiences to be quite as receptive. Greg Serrano, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. In the first 1.5 seasons of the musical comedy Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Santina Fontana played the drunken bartender Greg Serrano. However, when Fontana returned to Broadway, his role was written out. In Season 4, the role reappeared, played by Skylar Austin. The program, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, known for cracking the fourth wall and making meta-references, recognized Greg's physical differences by incorporating them into a plot about how people's impressions of him alter over time, in contrast to most other series on our list. Angie Jordan, 30 Rock. Angie Jordan was one of the most adored characters on the highly acclaimed television series 30 Rock, thanks to Sherry Shepherd's portrayal of her. There were multiple show-within-a-show episodes of the show when Angie's fictional reality series Queen of Jordan was presented. Considering that Sharon Wilkins played Angie in her debut, it may surprise some that Shepherd did not create the character. Chris Partridge, The Partridge Family. Jeremy Galbwax played the youngest brother and drummer in the first season of The Partridge Family. In 2005, Shirley Jones added that the character was not happy doing the show. His parents wanted him to do it, so we replaced him with actor Brian Forster, who played the role for the remainder of the series. However, David Cassidy claimed that the actor had a personality conflict with every person in the cast and with the producers. Lily Tucker Pritchett, Modern Family. Lily was portrayed by twins Jaden and Ella Hiller in the early seasons of Modern Family. In Season 3, Aubrey Anderson Emmons took over. The producers claimed that the alteration was done to comply with the twins' requests. Perhaps they find it tedious to sit on a set and watch us do a scene 10 times. Perhaps they'd prefer to be children. To be honest, we can't emphasize enough that it stems from a desire to act in their best interests. We wish them to be content. We'll replace them if we decide it's not in their best interest to stay, and we kindly beg for forgiveness if we do so. Lois Lane, Adventures of Superman. Star George Reeves' portrayal of the eponymous character made The Adventures of Superman one of the first television sensations of the 1950s. Phyllis Coates, who was originally cast opposite Reeve as Lois, was subsequently replaced by Noel Neill because of schedule conflicts. Morgan Matthews, Boy Meets World. Lily Nixay portrayed Morgan's younger sister in the cult classic sitcom Boy Meets World for the first 2 seasons in the 1990s. Lindsay Ridgway took Nixay's position on the show after she and her parents reached a mutual arrangement. Years later, for a Girl Meets World cast reunion episode, both actresses made a surprise comeback as Morgan. Naomi Bennett, Private Practice. Marin Dungy portrayed Naomi Bennett in the backdoor pilot for Private Practice, which debuted on an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Audra McDonald took over as Naomi Bennett for the show's first season. It was partly a chemistry thing between Marin and Taye Diggs, who played Naomi's estranged husband, Sam, according to sources. Beric Dondarrion, Game of Thrones. David Michael Scott played Beric Dondarrion when he initially appeared in the first season of Game of Thrones. When the character reappeared in the show's 3rd season, renowned actor Richard Dormer played him. Nonetheless, he was listed as a featured extra. This is just one more character in the vast list of Game of Thrones characters that will be replaced during the show's duration. Sarah Braverman, Parenthood. The highly praised Lauren Graham portrayed Sarah Braverman during Parenthood's broadcast run. However, she wasn't the first candidate for the position. Veteran actress Maura Tierney played Braverman in the series' first unaired pilot. However, due to health issues, Tierney withdrew from the series, making space for Graham, a former member of Gilmore Girls, to assume the role. Anne Veal, Arrested Development. In her Arrested Development debut, Alessandra Torsani played George Michael Bluth's on-again, off-again lover, Anne Veal. However, Mae Whitman played the character's role when she made her subsequent appearance. Whitman states that the character was intended to be unmemorable and thus be portrayed by a different actress each time, so that appearance was only meant to happen once. That changed, though, as Whitman clarified in a subsequent interview. And first they were going to keep changing the actress who played Anne just to keep you on your toes. They continued to be around me after that, which I found offensive. No, you're making the whole not memorable thing work. We'll just go with that, they exclaimed. Robin Hood, Once Upon a Time. A long list of actors has represented the famed archer Robin Hood throughout innumerable film and television appearances. Yet it's rare for 2 distinct actors to play the archer in the same medium. That's precisely what transpired on the ABC sitcom Once Upon a Time, though. Tom Ellis played Hood for the first time in the second season. However, Ellis was replaced by Sean Maguire in subsequent appearances owing to scheduling issues. Dario Naharis, Game of Thrones. Yes, Game of Thrones again. Ed Screen sponsors the show's third season, where the character Dario Naharis had his television debut in 3 episodes. However, Michael Heisman played Naharis in all subsequent appearances. At first, it was said that Screen quit the show to star in The Transporter Refueled, but the actor has since stated that politics was the real reason he left. James Kent, True Blood. Luke Grimes played the kind-hearted vampire James Kent when he was first introduced in the 6th season of True Blood. But Nathan Parsons played the character as Lafayette's love interest when he returned for the next season. The actor's representative refuted the claims made at the time that Grimes quit the show because he wouldn't participate in same-sex kissing or sex scenes or to play a character that was attracted to men. Lori Foreman, That 70s Show. Lori Foreman, the elder sister and torturer of the main character Eric Foreman, played a significant role in the early seasons of That 70s Show, as played by Lisa Robin Kelly. Unfortunately, Kelly's substance abuse problems prompted her to leave the show. She would later confess to ABC, "With That 70s Show, I was guilty of a drinking problem and I ran." Christina Moore briefly took Kelly's place, but the character was written out after poor viewer response. Three-Eyed Raven, Game of Thrones. Another Game of Thrones recasting. What the heck? Stu and Roger played the enigmatic Three-Eyed Raven in the beginning. Nevertheless, a well-known actor, Max von Sydow, was chosen to play the new role. In fairness, this specific recasting proved extremely popular, and as a result, von Sydow received a nomination for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Dramatic Series. Dickon Tarley, Game of Thrones. Another Game of Thrones entry, another recasting. It's reasonable to wonder at this stage if more characters were recast than not. I'll go on to Dickon Tarley. Following Freddie Stroma's final departure from the series due to alleged scheduling conflicts, actor Tom Harper assumed the role and played Tarley for the remainder of his appearances. Mason Verger, Hannibal. One of the more gory antagonists on the NBC television series Hannibal was Mason Verger, who frequently consumed human flesh, including his own at one point. Actor Michael Pitt, who played the role in the second season but left before the third, reportedly found that to be too much. Actor Joe Anderson took over as the character's portrayal for the remainder of his appearances. Dolores Pasternak, 2.5 Men. Throughout the series, 2.5 Men was notorious for casting and continuity miscalculations, a practice that extended to the portrayal of Dolores Pasternak. In the early years of the show, Missy Pyle played the role of her. However, Missy Pyle took over for an appearance during the show's run. Nevertheless, Pyle made a cameo appearance in the series finale. Bobby Draper, Mad Men. Many television producers view young kid actors as somewhat interchangeable, as we've seen with Modern Family. This applies to comedy and prestige dramas, as Mad Men demonstrates. Many young child performers, such as Maxwell Huckabee, Aaron Hart, Jared Gilmore, and Mason Vale Cotton, played the younger part of Bobby Draper. The child actor Kiernan Shipka, who played Sally, claimed that each performer went by a distinct moniker, such as Slurpee Bobby and Buckethead Bobby. Catwoman, Batman. A well-known feature of the 1960s Batman television series, sometimes known as the Adam West and Burt Ward comedic version of the character, was the large number of guests who played villains. The most well-known were perhaps the femme fatales who played Catwoman. There was a third Catwoman in the so-called Batman 66 continuity, as Lee Meriwether played the character in the big screen film adaptation. Julie Newmar was the first to take on the role, which she later gave to Earth Kitt. Kitt spoke fondly of her time on the show, saying, That character was so much fun. I was in dire need of tremendous help then, and like a starving cat, I had to find a way to survive. Helene Beasley, The Office. One of the most watched sitcoms ever is The Office, and many devoted viewers know every character on the program by memory. Helene Beasley, Pam's mother, is possibly the most well-known. The character, played by Linda Pearl in Season 6, 7, and 9, was romantically involved with Michael Scott. Shannon Cochran played the role in the second season when she first appeared. Allura Zor-El, Supergirl. Laura Benanti first played the title character in the DC comic series Supergirl. However, producers went to the comic book actors bench and hired Erica Durance, who had played Lois Lane on Smallville, to play the role after she was forced to quit the show owing to Broadway obligations. We are so lucky that Erica has joined our shows to offer her interpretations of Kara's mother. We know Erica will continue the proud tradition of legacy actors joining our shows and creating new and exciting takes on classic DC characters, a producer stated about the shift. Capheus, Sense8. Sense8, a science fiction series on Netflix, aired from 2015 to 2018, but one member of the original cast was absent then. During the first 1.5 seasons of the show, actor Aml Ameen played Capheus. Toby Onwumer then replaced him. According to a report at the time, some sort of conflict between Aml and Sense8 co-creator and executive producer-director Lena Wachowski was flared up at the Season 2 table read in Berlin and worsened as filming progressed in India, explained the change. Marilyn Munster, The Munsters. Beverly Owen portrayed Marilyn Munster, the all-too-human cousin of the main family, in the first 14 episodes of the iconic 1960s sitcom The Munsters. For the duration of the series, Pat Priest replaced Owen, who left Hollywood to move to New York and get married. Debbie Watson later played the part in the movie Munster Go Home. This was created right after the conclusion of the series. Lothar Fry, Game of Thrones. Get comfortable and prepare to be surprised. A Game of Thrones star was cast in a new role. This is astounding, we're aware. However, in this instance, supporters most likely took note. See, the Red Wedding, possibly the most iconic scene from the show, featured a significant role played by Tom Brooks' Lothar Fry. However, Daniel Chewett took the position in the part in subsequent appearances. Jenna Wade, Dallas. For a considerable portion of its existence, Jenna Wade, later known as Jenna Krebs, served as a major character on the primetime serial opera Dallas. Nevertheless, 3 distinct actresses paid her. Priscilla Presley was a series regular from season 8 through 11, followed by Francine Tacker in 2 episodes of the 3rd season and Morgan Fairchild in 1 episode of the 2nd. Rickard Karstark, Game of Thrones. Now that we've run out of clever remarks regarding this, we'll just get right to it. Game of Thrones has undergone yet another cast shift. The brunette and bearded Stephen Blunt played Rickard Karstark in the 1st season, but for the 2nd season, producers brought in actor John Stahl in his stead, who had an oddly whiter beard and hairstyle. John Boy, The Waltons. It's one thing for a television show to switch out an essential character, or even a minor one early on, but it's nearly unheard of for the main character to be replaced 8 years into the show's run. The key word here is almost, because that's precisely what happened with The Waltons. John Walton Jr. served as the series' focal point. Richard Thomas, also known as John Boy, portrayed him for the first 6 seasons. The show took place in the 1930s and 1940s, thus the character was written out to serve in World War II, but he did make a few cameos. Season 8 saw the return of John Boy, now played by Robert Whiteman. Whiteman appeared in various reunion films from the 1980s and the show's final 2 seasons, and Thomas had multiple appearances in reunion films in the 1990s. Kristen Baxter, Last Man Standing. The Tim Allen show Last Man Standing saw significant cast changes. The first happened after Kristen, the oldest daughter, was replaced in Season 1. Amanda Fuller took over for Alexandra Krosny as the character's original actor. For the remaining 8 seasons of the show, Fuller played the role, which in the end was more than many of her co-stars could claim. Lionel Jefferson, The Jeffersons. Lionel Jefferson was one of the most captivating casting tales of all stories on our list. Mike Evans played the character in the original All in the Family sitcom for 5 years. Evans as Lionel went along. The Jeffersons were spun off into their series. Before leaving, he was the show's first season star. For seasons 2 through 4, Damon Evans, unrelated to Mike Evans, was the character's actor. Mike Evans returned to the role full-time for seasons 6 through 7, with guest appearances in seasons 8 and 11. Pamela Burkhart, That 70s Show. Jackie's mother was one of the many supporting characters in the 1970s show, frequently recast or eliminated. The character, portrayed by Brady Bunch veteran Eve Plum, Pamela Burkhart debuted early in the series. As depicted by Brooke Shields, the character became increasingly prevalent later in Sir's life. Mountain, Game of Thrones. What better way to close this off than with yet another, and unquestionably the most significant, casting shift for Game of Thrones. Throughout the series, 3 actors played the enormous warrior known as the Mountain. The longest-running and most well-known portrayal of the character was played by Icelandic actor Hafþór Julius Bjornsson, followed by Ian White and Conan Stevens. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon